Thank you for your inquiry into a franchise system with DC Strategy. You're receiving this email because you've returned a non-disclosure agreement, and we're at the stage where we can now share some financial performance of the network that you have inquired about. You will receive an email that looks like this that we will have sent you. My name's James Young, and the email will have come from jamesyoung@dcstrategy.com. In terms of the way the email is formatted, you'll receive a video link which you will now be watching. Below that, you will see a blue clickable link to the financial model. Now, please note that the financial model is not a promise of future performance. It's a historical snapshot of your network's performance and is meant to be used as a guide with your advisors to do your own financial due diligence, as every new site will have its own set of results. So the model is there as a guide for you to conduct further research and to see what the historical performance of the network has been. So once you've received this email, you do need to open this email on a laptop or a desktop to be able to utilize Excel. The clickable link, once you press this, will download an Excel model for you. Now, once you've done that, you need to open up the model. What you'll find is that the first page, as you can see here, is a cover page. This outlines the rules and the way that this worksheet and this modeling has been put together. And one of the important steps that we need is for you to acknowledge that you have read those. And essentially it says, I acknowledge and understand the following. I've been advised to seek independent legal, business and accounting advice in respect of the franchise system and that the information provided to me by the franchisor. Two, the information provided to me is not a warranty, promise, performance or forecast or particular set of financial outcomes. It is my responsibility to develop my own projections and forecasts in respect of my particular franchise, and I cannot verify these estimates. I've been advised that although I should review the information provided to me and seek clarification from them, if I have any questions or if I do not understand the information provided, please feel free to reach out and to use your financial advisors to help you do that. So if you can organise for that to be returned to me at james.young@dcstrategy.com, that would be great. But what the model does provide is a historical snapshot of the information provided. Now, the input tabs is where all the work needs to occur. And the goal of this modelling is to provide you with a 60-month or 5-year return on investment model. The information, as I said, that is provided will be outlined along the right-hand side. So this information will be the historical performance of the network. If you have a 50-site, existing franchise network of 50 stores or sites, the average performance of those 50 sites will be listed along here for the previous year or for the first year's performance of the network. If it's a younger franchise that may only have 2 sites, again, the median will be provided for you. So a guide to be used and a very useful tool to understand the business, but again, not a promise of future performance. So to start using the model, you need to take the information provided along the right-hand side to populate the model. We take this information from here and put this into the cells that are under the franchisee input. Now, as discussed, the initial way I would look at this model is to enter in the median average or the historical performance of the network. And then from there, with my financial advisors, I would run through a number of scenarios from conservative through to further levels of success. So the first step that we do is to take the average information and enter this information in. Now, the first section that we look at is the due diligence and business setup. Now, whether you're looking at a McDonald's, a Subway, a Ben & Jerry's, a Lollipops, a Little Char franchise, any of the businesses, you should be seeking, as per the code and is a requirement from DC Strategy when working with franchisees, that you seek legal advice. We see in the market that average cost is around $2,000 for a professional franchise expert. And we can help introduce you to independent franchise legal specialists, or feel free to use your own contacts, but make sure they are experienced in franchising, and ideally that they give you a fixed fee before you move forward with them. We also recommend that you seek professional financial advice. Again, we've nominated a $2,000 amount for that. We then move on to the franchise fee. Now, usually this is a one-off payment that allows for 10 years of license under the agreement. And in this case, we've used an example of a $50,000 fee, but the particulars of the franchise you're looking at will be outlined along this right-hand side of the model. Once you've been approved and done all the due diligence process and spoken with franchisees and you're ready to move forward and you've been approved by the franchisor, there'll be some legal agreement drafting and execution costs. And again, this is for your specific agreement and is paid to an external legal source. You'll also need to incorporate potentially a business, whether that's a trust or a PTY Ltd structure, and there's some costs associated with that. So as we've said, these are the due diligence costs. The only payment that actually goes to the franchisor is this initial franchise fee that buys you the rights and the license and the support, usually, as I mentioned, for a 10-year period. We then move into the location, construction and fit out. And again, depending on your business and the nuances of that business that you're looking at, the list that are below this line will be varied. However, for this location or this example, we've used some nominal amounts. So location design fees with $5,000. There might be some council fees and building permits required. The actual shop fit out, again, we've used some nominal amounts there. And you can see I'm taking the information from the right-hand side and recreating those in the franchise input tabs. There's some initial training costs, some initial stock, and again, I'm entering this information in, some initial marketing to launch your business. We then move into the working capital considerations. Now, this money is what we talk about being best practice when we set up franchisees for success. And no matter whether you're just like when you're renting a house, you do need to have a rental bond that is held by the landlord. Typically speaking, that's 3 months of rental. And that amount will be pre-filled for you in the shaded squares. It's also good practice to have some working capital of 2 months rental or 2 months salary in this particular case. Again, each business will be different, but working capital is a key requirement to launching a successful business. And this amount, again, will be listed as per the recommendation of the franchisor. There may be some other establishment costs that we allow for, and that will be listed here as well. You'll see here that we've got a fit out contribution component. Now, some businesses and some franchises are able to negotiate on your behalf a contribution from the landlord. What is a contribution? It's a payment that is made to help reduce your setup costs, and this could vary depending on the size of the lease and the length of the lease. It's important to note here that you need to enter a negative figure because this amount does reduce your investment, not increase it. So you can see there I put in a negative amount, and in this case, again, a nominal amount of $50,000 is being put in there. We then move through to the revenue considerations part of the model. What you'll find here is an average monthly turnover amount. Again, we've used a nominal amount of $100,000 to provide that example. By putting that into the shaded cell, it will populate throughout the model those sales results. So again, following what is happening on the right-hand side of the model and entering that into this part of the model will be very, very important. We then move on to the cost of goods sold. In this example, we have a 28% cost of goods, leaving us with gross profit of 72%. So in this example, a simple example of a sandwich, it's costing us $2.80 to sell a sandwich that is selling for $10. So a 72% gross profit margin. We move on then to the franchise fees and levies. Now this is the amount that's charged for the ongoing support and use of the intellectual property and the licensing of the franchise. In this case, the royalty fee is 6%, and the marketing levy is an amount that's paid by all locations, including company stores, and is pooled into an audited marketing fund. And this amount is used to grow the brand and to market the business. So those amounts will be listed for you. We then move into the operating expenses consideration. And again, this information is generally the median information provided by the franchisor and the franchisees in the network. So we have some administration and finance expenses. And again, I'm taking the information from the right-hand side of the model and populating it. In this case, we've got some bank and merchant fees, some accounting and bookkeeping costs, some filing fees, some insurance costs. All these are outlined here for you, and you populate that as you go. We've nominated an amount for the franchisee. Generally, our franchisors require our franchisees to work for the first year in their business. It's important that you lay a solid foundation, understand the business, build your team, and so therefore we've allowed for an amount for the franchisee to be paid as a manager in that instance. You have your other staff salaries to consider. We also have super obligations in Australia, which are 9.5%. There might be some ongoing training costs, some uniform costs, some staff amenities, which might be some team building or further training exercises. Technology and telecommunications, again, these headers will change depending on your franchise, but you should be getting the idea of how this modelling works. I've then entered in the $3,400 for the IT. Local area marketing is a key reason why franchising is the most successful form of small business, and it's the discipline to spend in your local area, whether that's pure advertising costs or sponsorship or charity work. Spending in your local area and promoting your brand and your business is critical to success. So again, in this model, you'll see that there's a 2% of turnover. You'll also note that this section of the operating expenses, this is a yearly figure that populates itself for you. In some instances, we're able to negotiate, or the franchisor is able to negotiate a rent-free period for you. In this example, I'm going to use 3 months, and that will be determined, again, provided for the average in the right-hand side of the model. We then look at our rent. Again, I've used a nominated amount of $100,000. There might be some council expenses, some waste removal costs, some pest control, some security, store protection and cash collection, some repairs and maintenance, and some provisions for refurbishment. So again, the information will be listed on this right-hand side, and your job is to populate that to get an understanding of the average. Utilities is another element of the business costs that happen obviously on an annual basis. There's provisions for vehicle and equipment here, as you can see. However, most of our businesses don't require you to own and operate a business. And we've then nominated some other operational expenses that, again, will give you some insight into the business model. In this instance, we've got $5,000 and $3,100. We then move down to the constants of this model. Now, these are part of the model that allow it to populate and present a 5-year return on investment for you. In terms of the models, we've got 12 months per year, 4.3 weeks per month. We see that the average labour cost increase per annum as of December 2018 was 1.9%. The base rental cost increases per annum is between 3 and 4% usually. We've got the inflation rate, again at 1.9%. And then we've got an annual sales rate that the group is operating from year 1 to year 2, and then from year 3 onwards. And again, these amounts will be listed along the right-hand side for you. So once we've populated this model, it's going to reflect in the further tabs that we now look at. So our establishment costs tabs you'll see here has populated itself and will give you an amount that the total business will cost to invest, which will include both working capital and otherwise. We then move on to our projections tab, and this is where the business model is really broken up into a 60-month business model. And in the last page, the returns tab, we have a scenario where we have it broken up into a 5-year return on investment model, where we have the key lines that are provided for you in a snapshot: the revenue, the cost of goods, the gross profits, the expenses, whether that be the royalty, the marketing levy, the salaries, other expenses, and it produces an EBITDA, or a net franchise benefit. And again, this is the number that you're looking for, the net benefit or payback period in years. And if you populate the model as per the average information provided, it will give you the historical snapshot of the performance of the network you're looking at. But as I said, that's just one version. I would then be repopulating this model with as many different scenarios as you and your advisors would like to do, and a very powerful tool to understand the business. So next steps from here, we'd encourage you to complete the application form, which was on the link in the email that was provided to you. This information, you can see that the application form again is in a clickable link. And if you have any problems with the model or any questions whatsoever, you are able to book a phone meeting with myself directly at any time. So thank you very much for your inquiry into franchising. DC Strategy looks forward in helping you understand the business and making sure that it's the very best possible franchise for you to enter. But all the best in your financial research, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.